Well, folks, it's time to talk about some dismal Disney because there's plenty of it right now. But this story is, well, I guess it's unsurprising considering the moral decay within the Disney company that they've been experiencing for the last 15 years under the guiding hand of Robert Iger. Hopefully, people are paying attention to the fact that the company is, got some serious issues when it comes to deciding whether or not they are directing their energies properly towards children. But one would be forgiven to think that in certain situations and places, you could get away with doing something a little bit risky, but maybe not this risky. Let's jump into a story from that park place, one written by our friend John F. Trent, covering something that I think is just ridiculous. Maybe you will too. You see, Disneyland features Deadpool making lewd jokes, including one about Iron Man on the hookup app Grinder. That's right. There's a lot of this type of stuff that's going on out in public spaces where all ages of children, from strollers to, well, high school, are getting subjected to this in a not quiet, reserved, private location. It's out in the main drag in these locations where everybody can hear what's being done and said. Disneyland, DCA, probably not the best places for this, again, because of the ages that are involved. But let's get into the story. In the wake of Deadpool and Wolverine arriving in theaters, the Walt Disney Company had a cast member dressed as Deadpool walking around Disneyland making inappropriate lewd jokes, including the one I mentioned before. That Park Place YouTube host, Jonas J. Campbell, my pal, shared multiple clips to X of Deadpool making these inappropriate jokes in the middle of Disneyland, where children are present. Jonas wrote, Deadpool's now at Disneyland Resort making jokes about Tony Stark having a profile on the hookup app Grinder next to the Disney Parks app. Probably not good. Probably not a good look. He continued, what a fascinating convo that would be to explain to Walt Disney. What are you doing? And this is somehow going to become a theme for Jonas, and I don't blame him. To describe the video, we'll do so here. Deadpool approaches a monitor and says, what do we have here? Oh, okay, we've got the Disney Parks app. We've got Instagram, TikTok, Tinder, Grindr. Wow, Mr. Stark, I love your new profile picture. Interesting. And of course, here's the tweet. You can go find this. This is actually making Jonas a lot of friends right now. I think over 5 million impressions. Just absolutely bonkers sauce. In another video, Deadpool jokes about pounding Star-Lord. Campbell comments, Deadpool at Disney California Adventure volunteering to pound the Star-Lord. If you listen, you can hear the actor playing Wolverine say, I'm sure you would. I'm sure you would. He asks Disney, what are you doing? It's a good question. Of course, in the video, describing it as we will again, Star-Lord introduces himself to Wolverine attempting to bump fists. Wolverine looks at his fists and says, nah, trust me, pal, you don't want this. And then Deadpool jumps in, I'll pound you. And Wolverine states, I'm sure you would. And then, of course, Jonas posted another video, a third one, and commented, Deadpool at Disneyland Resort making jokes about being the top while Wolverine is the bottom. This is advertised by Disney as a family-friendly show. Just because kids hopefully don't get the joke doesn't mean it's not creepy. Disney, what are you doing? I think it's a good question. So Deadpool reenacts a story, because it's story time with Deadpool. And so they were roommates. Little Red was the top bunk, and Wolvie was obviously the bottom. And they lived happily ever after. Whether or not they get it, I understand where Jonas is coming from. And again, to me, as an adult, not a big deal. Slightly amusing. A little obvious, but Deadpool humor usually is. So, I don't know. Should it be done around kids? I don't know. John's perspective, who's writing this article, says it's clear that these jokes should not be taking place at Disneyland and should not be delivered at all. Again, that's his opinion. And there is nothing wrong with censoring them and removing them from the park. Well, I mean, I'm not going to make an argument for censorship outright. All I'm going to say is that perhaps Disney needs to realize that they have a broader audience. And if they are so worried about whether or not somebody is offended or not, um, when it comes to a variety of other new things that Team Iger has been instituting over at Disney, they might want to take into account offending the people that also in the majority attend their parks. Because while Southern California may be a snapshot of, the weirdness that goes on there around Disneyland, it certainly isn't a snapshot of the globe. And you're certainly not worried about offending a whole lot of people who have deeply held religious beliefs. I think that's a problem. Family entertainment needs to be simple, and stories need to be morally based. You have to have a good, a bad, and a resolution. That's what storytelling ultimately came for. And sometimes the bad is just overcoming your own obstacles, the growth of an individual, or what they call the hero's journey. Or it can be as simple as good guys versus bad guys. Disney theme parks for a very long time were the vehicles for extending or retelling a story that people find charming, classic, perfect, and, well, a little nostalgic. Now they're being utilized as vehicles for social change that the vast majority of people are not interested in any way. Regardless, the question at hand here for this video is whether or not this is appropriate at Disney's California Adventure, Disneyland, or frankly any of the Disney theme parks. If maybe in a bar that's themed for adults with no children present, you could certainly have this type of entertainment without anybody fretting or worrying or even noticing. But clearly, this is out in the general public where primarily a kids' park is supposed to be oriented for kids. And frankly, I think a lot of the actions Disney has taken recently aimed at adults and not at future generations of children is very short-sighted indeed. Were I an investor that was heavily invested in Disney, I think I would be pointing that out right now to all of the people around me that also hold stock. I think it should be clear that without future fans, current ones are just eventually going to run out. And I think Disney's starting to see that now. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. And as always, be sure to take care of yourself. Take care of others. Hit that thumbs up button, okay? Make sure you're still subscribed. And until next time, see you.